Hello, welcome to Home JU, Self-Isolation JU, Cat JU sometimes. We hope you guys are doing really well and that you enjoyed your socially isolated weekend and you're enjoying the beginning of a socially isolated week. But we're not socially isolated because we have one another right here in our virtual reality. I'm Roth Cornet, joined by Joe Starr in the lower corner. You're right below me. Hi, Joe.
Hi, I've been booted from this 8 times before we started, so let's see what happens.
It'll be a fun ride. It just adds flavor to our programming. Spencer GIlbert, how you doing celebrating California today?
Hello, Joe, and hello, oh, God damn it. Wait. Hello, Joe, and hello, Roth. Good to be with you this morning.
Hi, Spencer, and hey, Dan, you're right next to me.
Hello.
Oh, no, you're right next to me.
I could never be a weatherman. I can't get the physics right of this. Hello. I shaved off my coronavirus quarantine beard. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. That was the thing, right? Like, I think a number of people were going to grow out beards. I didn't quite understand the thesis behind that. Like, what did you achieve at a certain point?
Well, you lose measure of time, so it's like the only way to tell how long you've been in.
Yeah.
I'm getting out.
I'm doing my shoulder hair.
Ugh.
Well, we have some very, very important programming to bring to you guys today. So thanks for sticking with us, hitting those likes, hitting that bells, hitting that click. Mystery Snyder Theater 3000. Oh, I blew that. Mystery Snyder Theater 3000. That comes straight from Ryan. So good job, Ryan. I like that one. I like that
works.
Line.
Mm-hmm.
That works. Zack Snyder held a live commentary for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And we have right here hot takes for you, hot off the Snyder presses, all of the important information that was revealed via this commentary, which I didn't watch it actually, but Spencer tells us he was in good spirits and having a great time and kind of had a good sense of humor about the movie. Is that right?
Yeah. Just it was just a fun, chill watch along. I'm glad everyone's keeping busy during their quarantine. I hope we get more stuff like this.
Spencer, just to confirm, Vero is the only social media you use now, right?
Yeah, I will follow back on Vero.
Okay, good.
Nice.
And you will actually comment back, yes?
Actually, please, I should no one make a fake profile of me on Vero because I don't actually have one. If you see me on Vero, that's not me.
Not real.
Caveat.
Well, we're going to start off with the first, and then we'll just kind of round robin all of these important bullet points. So here we go. On making Jimmy Olsen a CIA agent who dies instantly, he said, quote, "I just like the idea that Jimmy Olsen was a spook for the CIA. I always felt like Jimmy, never was that capable. And to see him speak a foreign language, people always ask me if he's dead. Do we see him again? Does he come back to life? I don't think so. It implies a bigger universe. It implies that these were dominoes that are falling as we go forward." So I'd like to parse that quote in a number of ways. But first of all, what did you guys think of Jimmy Olsen and CIA agent?
I mean, I didn't know it was him until a rewatch. It kind of flew by pretty fast.
Yeah.
I think that's cool to make him a CIA agent or to just the spirit behind it to make him capable and not just oh, gee, Superman, let me get a photo. But I don't think we got enough time before he was murdered.
Yeah, you do that reveal later.
I don't think that's a good idea.
You do that later on after we've met Jimmy Olsen and care about him one way or the other. And then you find out that he's working for the CIA and you go, oh. But my favorite line is that he's not that capable and therefore not that useful of a character. I mean, I guess you should expect it from the really big Ayn Rand fan to rate characters on skills and skill sets. But I like that Jimmy Olsen has no value unless he's in the CIA.
Well, I think it just goes to, and I'm sure we'll discuss it as we go on, but this idea, and we knew this idea that Zack Snyder was very not interested in telling a traditional Superman story. He wanted to get into the nitty gritty of it. He wanted to get down into dig down into the earth and find the hidden grit that wasn't there before. And I think Jimmy Olsen is a character more than any other ones. He's wearing a bow, traditionally he's wearing a bow tie and he's got the smile, Superman. I can't think of anyone that would fit in less in a Zack Snyder world than Jimmy Olsen. So it makes sense. He's going to take one character that's he's going to represent the how hardcore the world has become, and we're talking about the dark side, no pun intended, but also initially that was his purpose, literally to talk about Darkseid.
And also Darkseid.
Yeah, it tracks.
I think to me though, this is like maybe where we're the expectation was maybe unfairly set by Marvel, where it's like this is an ongoing thing. It's going to be like it's going to be infinite movies, and we'll have time to explore all these nooks and crannies. What it seems like is like he thought he was going to make 2 or 3 movies about this, and it feels like he's trying to cram 22 movies into 3 movies, and that's why you just get like 10 seconds of a beloved character.
Yeah, I mean, two things about
Jimmy. Going to until those cowards at Warner Brothers pumped the brakes.
True enough. I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, to your point, Dan, I feel like there's a way to have a photographer character that's still more modernized, that does fit into this world, that's a journalistic photographer, that's like covering things and seeing some. In fact, it would give you an ability to open up the lens, literally and figuratively, to see things on the ground. Like you would be able to use Jimmy as the character that's showing you how these impacts of these titans fighting is impacting people on the ground. Like Jimmy would be a great pathway for that. Also, I just like him a lot as a character. I find him to be a good moral compass for Superman. Like, even though he is his own moral compass, and maybe this is like I'm steeped in this podcast where Jimmy's a key character in this radio show that we're doing the podcast on, but I don't know. I don't think he had to to have a totally different occupation and then get shot in the head. But that's me, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not the one.
I do think he is the moral compass, and I think if nothing else, we could have gotten a scene where we could have seen Clark Kent with like an angel and a devil on his shoulder, because he also had Kevin Costner for his morals, and we could have gotten a scene where Jimmy Olsen and the ghost of Kevin Costner get in a fight over what's best for Superman. I think that would have been a pretty good Oscar-winning scene.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jimmy is the guy that reminds him of what it is to be the everyman, because Clark is not the everyman. He is pretending to be the everyman. Okay, let's move on to the next bullet point. Joe Starr, read that off for us.
Hang on, let me transition to my Google Doc. I can't see you guys anymore, so I just
Why did Ryan not print these scripts out and deliver them to all of our doors so that we could just read these? This is really
sterilize them.
Yes, sterilized, obviously.
Good one. Harry Lennox's General Swanwick was, I think we knew about this, but he gets into it a little more, was supposed to be Martian Manhunter and New Superman's secret identity. Harry Lennox is pretending to be a human being, but does a great job at it, unlike most of Zack's characters. He has this relationship. Boom. Oh, sick as burns. Hey. He has this relationship with Lois. It started in Man of Steel, if you kind of track the relationship. And I will say this does actually track. It does track that he's kind of aware of what's up. Harry understands there's a relationship between Lois and Clark, who he, of course, knows is Superman. But I'm so glad that he wasn't allowed to pull a trigger and add another character to this thing.
In Martian Manhunter?
Yeah. Can you imagine like 25 extra minutes in this that's Martian Manhunter stuff?
Did you watch Supergirl, the Martian Manhunter arc on Supergirl?
No.
Yeah, I watched. I can't remember when I finally dovetailed out of Supergirl, but I saw the Manhunter stuff.
I actually really liked it.
Good job with it.
Apropos of nothing. Dan, what do you think about that particular? First of all, I want to say something to clarify for anybody that's watching right now. Spencer and I were making dumb faces when you said you couldn't see us. That was only a sign of respect because I love you, Joe.
It was a test to see if you're really reading.
To see if you were lying, if you were really looking at us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I appreciate your transparency and honesty with me.
Dan, what do you think?
I think that I'd be very curious, because here's where I sort of am at this point with this movie specifically, which is when I saw it, I was utterly confused by it. I was baffled by it. I'm like, what the hell is going on with this movie? Now, and this has sort of added more light into me, into how I understand it. I feel like I know now what Zack Snyder was going for, which I didn't know at first. At first, I was like, I don't even know what he's trying to do. And then now I understand what he was trying to do. This specifically with like, oh, General Swanwick, he was Martian Manhunter all along. The question now in my mind is, were these plans that were in his head all along? and he was just sort of parsing it out as he went? Or was this a product of was there an understanding with him in the studio as far as like they sort of said, you're going to have 5 movies to do this, but then sort of welched and said, this isn't going how we want, because I think that changes the perception considerably, because one of them, it kind of seems like he's making it up as he goes. And the other one, it seems like he had a plan. It just was sort of pulled out from under him. And now it all sort of seems like he was dangling all of these loose threads.
Well, again, I think to me that the other option is he knew he only had 3 movies or whatever, and was trying to stuff as much of the things he loved in them as possible. Like no cranny was left without like a nod or an allusion to a character or something like that.
But he seems to have been under the impression that he was going to have 5 movies to do this.
Yeah.
Or that was his plan anyway. So I guess that's my question. Was that only his plan? Or was that at some point the plan that ended up sort of not happening because of the reaction to the films that he had done so far?
It feels that way. It feels like they probably were in discussions about a multiple movies. And then, I mean, a lot of things changed dramatically in terms of Snyder was coming in as the guy. He was going to be their new Nolan, right? And so imagine taking that Batman franchise away from Nolan in the middle of it. Like, that's kind of unthinkable, but that was also only 3 movies. I mean, this is like a Herculean effort to put on one human being, to be fair to Zack Snyder.
The reason, though, I think that it was only 3 or so is like he jumped so far ahead. Like, this is the end of Batman's career. This is like, there's a huge time skip in like the Justice League. I mean, speaking, I guess, just to Batman, like this is his last hurrah. So it doesn't seem like he's setting up 5 more movies after that. Otherwise, Batman shouldn't be a broken down shell of himself.
What's that weird challenge of like the DC stuff everyone loves is that like really edgy 80s stuff like Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. And there's rarely any interest in like pun not intended, I guess, or at least from Zack Snyder, there was no interest in like Batman Beginning, because what he wanted was the gritty Batman that fights a mutant in a garbage dump and makes puns about being his surgeon and stuff like that. So
that part was tight.
That part was pretty tight.
I mean, Dan, you bring up a really good point, though, because I think there's something to be said for having someone objective overseeing the entire universe, and to put that on a director while he's also trying to be granularly in one movie, I think is probably too much to ask. And it feels like he was trying to get a lot done over a course of several movies, but also just in one movie. And it ended up being, and then when they cut it down, I never saw the director's cut. Actually, you guys did the longer one, the extended one. I'm not sure if that.
I watched it. I watched
some of the edges
cut for the first time with these 2, and I think they were just like, for a non-book reader of Game of Thrones, were just watching me react to it. Because it didn't. I mean, so it didn't smooth any edges to me because it
explains more.
Yeah.
It
makes more of that movie specifically make sense in that it explains some of the plot holes, but it doesn't make the movie less sort
stuffed,
of crammed with things. Yeah.
Spencer.
Yeah.
You up that next bullet.
Next item. He was being kind of snarky, talking about how the Snyder Cut is the true sequel to Batman v Superman. Kind of jokingly like, you know what? I think they should make a sequel to this movie someday. That'd be amazing. That'd really be something else. I want to know what happens to these guys. I mean, don't they eventually, I don't know, form some kind of, a league of sorts. So yeah, Snyder Cut is the sequel. To Batman v Superman is the implication there. I guess not really going off of this, but something I was thinking about as far as things being overstuffed. Chris Terrio. Sorry to name names, but he's the guy who wrote BVS, Justice League, and The Rise of Skywalker. 3 enormous franchise films that feel like 22 movies happening at once. I think that for a lot of the issues that people throw at Zack Snyder, it's like this is his collaborator, or this guy that's really worked on every enormous franchise, needs to just like get an editor. Just like skim it back a little bit. Pace yourself.
Or they need to put Ritalin in his contracts because he's all over the map, like at all times.
Because the same stuff that I feel about this movie was all true of Justice League and Rise of Skywalker, where it's like, just focus.
Yeah, there's a lot of this.
Yeah, I sort of also want to. I agree, sort of with what you were saying, Roth, when you were talking about Zack Snyder. Is it's also the need for somebody in a higher position to have a clarity of focus on what you're looking for, because these scripts aren't written in a vacuum. They go to executives, they go to producers, they're signed off on and revised, and they're noted and given notes. And I think sometimes when you see a movie like, in my opinion, Rise of Skywalker or BVS, that just seems so packed and crammed with all different stuff and has it's flitting from thing to thing and has trouble focusing, I think that comes from the top down. I think that comes from the people at the very top of the food chain not knowing what they want from the movie or wanting too much from it, and that trickles all the way down throughout the process. So it's we and I'm sure personally I myself have put a lot of our issues with these movies on just Zack Snyder, but most directors have huge ideas for what they want to do, and sometimes that fits a project, sometimes it doesn't. But I think, and we've talked about with Warner Brothers before, this is it's happened with the Fantastic Beasts franchise, it's happened with movies, not just these movies in the DCEU. Sometimes it seems like Warner Brothers as a studio just had no idea what it wanted or what it was looking for. And so we're just like, whatever, try everything. That's not necessarily the best approach all the time.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, Walter Hamada came in kind of mid-stride as these things were already happening, and I think tried to make some course corrections. And we've seen some interesting stuff come out of it. And I wonder what's going to happen over the next couple of years. But we do have more bullet points. Dan Murrell.
Yes. The nightmare. Oh, let's talk about the nightmare sequence. Everyone,
good.
You remember the nightmare sequence? Zack Snyder was playing a little coy, talking about the Flash's time traveling a bit, and Bruce Wayne having a vision of the dark future. So he's playing a little coy. He said, "I guess it's boring for him waiting for it to decrypt, so he fell asleep, maybe, or I'm not sure." And he says, "Maybe it's a byproduct of Flash cracking on the cosmic treadmill, or whatever, or whether it creates some sort of rift where it allows Batman to see into the future. It could be a combo of those things." So I think he was sort of playing a little aloof on that one, but I was reading he did go into a little bit more detail on that, saying that, like, in his mind in the future it was the Flash is on this cosmic treadmill and he was working with Cyborg and he came in too early to talk to Batman, and he was this vision of this future of Superman and Darkseid and the anti-life equation and all this stuff he wanted to do down the road. But yeah, I think again, when you step outside 4 years later and you know what's happening, it makes a little more sense. For me, when I'm in a movie theater and it's just happening, it was a little confusing. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you guys have a, I'm going off topic, warning. Do you guys have, and then we'll swing back to these final few bullet points. Do you have a favorite DC movie in this latest era to date? The post-Nolan.
Post-Nolan DC movie.
You do, Spencer? Come on. I know you do, of all of us.
Wait, what? Oh, Joker stuff. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even consider that a comic book movie. It's art, high art.
I mean, Wonder Woman.
But it's still a DC movie.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm a big fan of Shazam. I like Shazam.
Shazam's really good. Yeah, Shazam's fun.
Yeah, those are my two favorites, I think, in the DCEU proper, and I also, Joker, I think Joaquin in that movie, Oscar winning performance. How can you not recognize that?
I like a lot of the recent stuff for different reasons. I think Wonder Woman is probably the most consistent and solid movie. Again, I've talked about it before, until it gets to that sort of video game boss fight at the end and kind of hits the brakes on everything it's been doing. But that felt very studio mandated, where they were like, but she has to fight a computer screen. Otherwise,
a syphilitic older British gentleman needs to turn into a boss from Doom.
How dare you talk about David Thewlis that way?
I mean, why would you want to just further explore all the themes of war and humanity that you've been setting up throughout your movie? And anyway, but yeah, Shazam's great. I like Aquaman because it's just insane. Like, Aquaman truly does feel like the weird kid from your block. That was me. Like, just being like, Mom, Dad, look at the story that I wrote with all my toys. This shark shoots fire. This guy has a trident, and Godzilla's here.
There's dinosaurs at the center of the earth.
Yeah, why not?
There's an octopus that plays the drums.
Yeah.
Lest we forget.
I think it has its flaws, but I did really like Birds of Prey. And it's also maybe a little bit of immediate recency bias because it's the most recent thing I watched, but I liked it a lot.
With Aquaman, I actually just wish that was like somehow a 20 episode show where I got to explore each one of those Atlantean underwater worlds, because we were in them so fast, and all of them I thought had the opportunity for really fun world building. Like,
we're gonna get the trench.
I want the Lovecraftian trench creatures. I want to.
There's like literally a movie being made about it called The Trench. It's like it's not Aquaman, but it's like about the creatures in the bottom of the ocean.
Who's making
in
it?
the DC universe? Like the producers of Aquaman.
James
Wan? Justin Lin producing. I don't know if he's directing, but he's helping produce it.
James Wan's going to produce it. A genre-enthused spin-off of Aquaman.
Fuck yeah. Yes, yeah. Frolic, yes. Frolic. Ponies!
No, the Aquaman stuff to me can all be painted on the side of a van, and that's how I've decided I rate movies on most likely to be on a van now.
Van mural. Yeah, it's a good metric.
Yeah. It's the only metric I've got.
That's why your favorite movie is Crawl.
All right, let's swing back. I got another bullet point for everybody. Ready? So he likes the idea of editing Man of Steel and Batman v Superman into one big mega movie, using the Zod battle footage and both as a bridge. He said, I wonder if anyone's ever done a 5-hour cut, which would basically be editing those two parts of the movie together carefully. I've never seen that. I'm sure it exists online somewhere, where they match up all of these moments so that they're happening simultaneously. I don't know if anyone's done that. I'd have to look, but it feels like a cool thing to do because it all should match up pretty well. Because they're fighting right below. It could be kind of cool. So I'm sure people have done that.
It has been done.
I personally have a friend that re-edited all of the Marvel movies into one sequential cut.
Mm.
Quite a project.
You don't need it.
It's there though. Have you guys seen that at all?
Yeah, there's a few out there that people matched up the Man of Steel with. A lot of it's sort of more of a split screen thing than a like continuous edit as if it's one thing. But he's right; it does match up pretty well. That would be interesting. Although I don't know, that would be interesting. I've tried a few cuts myself that I then abandoned because I got really busy. And also got a girlfriend. So I that would be an interesting project, although I think it'd be kind of a weird, just plot wise, to be like all about Superman and then it's about everybody all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think we could get it down to one Evanescence music video.
I think so too.
Focus on Jimmy Olsen.
Joe, I'd like to know what he thinks. Sammy.
What Stewart thinks? Oh, Stewart's a hardcore Zack Attack man. This cat loves Zack Snyder more than he loves Scritches and weird ball stuff out of a tube so that he doesn't throw up hairballs. Like it's top 3 activities for him.
Well, I'm glad we've had at least one cat appearance today because I was starting to feel lonely for it. Oh, that's when we need a close up of Joe in that moment. All right. Oh, buddy.
Cats aren't babies.
Does he want to read our next bullet point?
No, he's gone. He heard people and he's gone.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I will.
I'm also mostly afraid of people and their cruelty and their casual cruelty. So I don't blame him at all. Why don't you go ahead and read that bullet point?
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, the Martha moment.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. So he really just hammers the defense of the Martha thing again, which I love. The whole idea of this movie is to create this arc where Batman confronts Superman's humanity and then he finds himself again. That's the thesis of the thing, that we're all humans and that I have so much cat fur in my mouth. That we all connect on a level. Our mothers have the same name, man. It's really this fundamental, we both have a mother, so we are both human. Even though Superman is from another planet, his connection to humanity is so clean that Batman is able to re-energize himself.
Yep. It's a good idea. It's the execution for me. It's always been the execution. It's not the concept, it's the execution.
Yeah, it's how abrupt it is, because you have Batman talking like, if there's a 1% chance that this guy turns evil, we need to just murder him. Mm-hmm. To the point where he's like got the tip of a kryptonite spear pointed at his chest, like, here comes the murder, and then it's boom. That's it just takes the that coinky dink to have him completely shift. So yeah, like the arc of Batman rediscovering his humanity, like after he's become like this grizzled kill happy guy. That's cool. It's the speed that it happened. It's a whiplash. It's whiplash screenwriting.
It's a focus on like moments instead of building to them or earning them or anything like that, because there's really not, like you're saying, it's, you go from, if there's even a 1% chance to that, like there's no sense of build of them trying to get on the same page or connect in a certain way, or the idea that moms equal human or whatever, like other than just reminding us that Bruce's parents got shot and Martha getting killed. Like stuff happens, but like the themes aren't really explored or built to or anything like that. So it doesn't really work. I
just think it's weird. I honestly do. I just think the whole concept of like, I have a mom, and literally everyone has a mom. It wouldn't exist. Kal-El has two moms. So I just think that the whole concept is really strange, and is a odd way to quantify what it means to connect on a human level. Like, why does it take that reminder? And it doesn't categorically change everything that that Batman has felt about how potentially dangerous Superman is to date, to know that he has a mother with his same name. Like the whole thing strikes me as just
Does it work if you take out Superman and you put in the Joker and you find out the Joker's mom's name was Martha?
Exactly, but that's my point, right? Like, would that make a difference to how Batman felt about the Joker, to know that his mom was also named Martha? Like, it's just it's also, you brought it up, Joe, too. It's kind of like the David Brent moment, like,
oh, right. How can I hate women? My mom's one.
Like, it's just always weird to me to be like, but I have a mother. It's like, I also have a dad. Like, does he count? Like, screw dads.
Does it work? Let me ask you this too. Does it work does it work more if it's a less common name? Like if it's Tallulah?
Like Azrael, like if both their moms were just weirdly named Azrael. Yeah. I mean, yeah, then it works, obviously. Yeah.
This is shocking to me, but here I'm gonna, in defense of Zack Snyder, here's what I will say, with this concept of the mother thing, is that with the Joker, and we're with this Joker argument, with the Joker, like the Joker is a very tangible threat in the sense that, like, or whomever, any of Batman's villains, they have committed these heinous acts, so Batman is fighting them on a level of reality. Whereas his whole thing with Superman is he presents a hypothetical threat. Like, he's not really fighting Superman. He's fighting the concept of what Superman could become. So he's fighting an idea almost more than a person. And so I see the idea of humanizing him. Like the idea of making him a person and not a concept, like that. Again, if you have Zack Snyder sit and explain it to me, I start seeing it a little bit more. But it only underscores again to me even more so the failure of making those thoughts a movie that makes sense, and that transition is so abrupt and seemingly comes out of nowhere that. That's what's so jarring about the movie. It's not necessarily the ideas or the concepts, it's how they're presented, and they're all presented in a very, very rapid fire way that makes it difficult, or at least for me as a viewer, made it very difficult for me to adjust to the storytelling as the movie was going on.
Yeah, I like the arc as it was pitched. It's just the execution. There wasn't room to give it its due because there was so much else in the film.
Yeah.
I like the arc if the arc is about discovering somebody's humanity in total. You know what I mean? Like someone's humanity isn't defined by the fact that they have. It's sort of like when there is stuff about like everyone has a mom, a sister, blah blah blah. It's like I think that's actually it strikes me as oddly dehumanizing. I think that's where I kind of bump up against it, because what makes us human isn't defined by the fact that we were given birth to, like everyone was, like I guess fundamentally we all have a mother and a father, sure.
Even snakes.
Like, even snakes.
And they're evil.
I mean, that's true. Yes. Serpents are very terrifying. You're absolutely right. I don't know. I just find it like a very narrow, odd, limited way of defining humanity. And if they had come to understand each other in a different way, that would be cool. I'm not hating on the movie or hating on Zack Snyder, because I guess I fundamentally get that it's also a neat coincidence that that their moms have the same name, and that might be a moment of connection between two people. But I don't know. I always think that that's just a little reductive and weird to be like, you're human because you also have a mom. Like everyone is human, period. And everyone is complex and flawed, and Superman, frankly, less so than the rest of us. Cool.
All right.
Maybe another bullet point, Spencer.
He was kind of like making some jokes about when the Batmobile's gunning down thugs. I'm sure those guys are fine. They're going to be 100% okay. No way they're dead. We should have done an A-Team style shot of them getting up on the side of the road for the PG-13 version, which I thought was funny. And I personally don't care if Batman kills people, because he does it constantly. Like, let's be real. He's killed in like every movie.
Yeah. Burton's Batman killed.
And this is a Batman in this one that's like lost his sense of right and wrong, kind of, or is teetering on that edge. So for him to, I do think it would be funny if like G.I. Joe or like, I think Dragon Ball Z or something, when like helicopters blow up, somebody just says, "Oh, there's parachutes." I do think that would be funny if they added that in.
I wish that stuff had gotten. I think that's my thing. Is I feel like the choices he made with Batman were just because those are the choices that he thought were cool, and we didn't explore him. Because I love the idea, like both what all of you talked about. A Batman that's dealing with an existential threat. Like that's interesting to me. He's at the end of his road. He's at the end of his career. His ward got beaten to death. All these horrible things have happened to him. So it's like he's this withdrawn, guy. It's a much darker, scarier version of put a suit of armor around the world than Tony Stark, right? Now he's just like firebombing thugs with the Batmobile. He's just going to go ahead and kill this alien just to be safe, because he doesn't want to see a million more Robins. And I think it would have been really cool to be able to like explore that stuff, but it's just felt to me in the movie like it was there because it was cool. Like, yeah, Batman would just like mow through Bob the Joker's goon and not think twice about it, or like
Bob,
or have a mech suit.
Who's gonna hold the boombox?
Bob did not hold.
Oh, come on, Dan.
He did not.
It's the guy with the mustache,
Right,
and the sunglasses, and the shaved head.
Yeah.
Point of order.
I think it is interesting to have. I mean, because the thing is, what he's fundamentally saying isn't wrong. Like it is incredibly dangerous to have one person, one being with that much power, and absolutely no oversight. Like you have to 100% rely on that person's goodwill, and that would be a really difficult thing for Batman to do, who doesn't have much experience with goodwill and people or others. Entities acting ethically. But who does have goodwill?
No.
Oh, you guys do. Our viewers, our wonderful viewers. You guys are amazing. This is an amazing audience. I have always really, really thought that. I have been consistently impressed and pleased and delighted by the kindness that this audience often to almost always shows to each other, to us in the world. I want to thank you guys for that. Thank you for continuing to support us. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing and commenting. It's really what allows us to keep doing this, hitting that bell, hitting the likes so that YouTube pushes this thing out to more people so that we can keep making it. It genuinely is really, 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 really appreciated. And it means a lot. So, and we're all living in this insanely challenging time right now. And we wanted to use this platform to spotlight some places where you can help if you're able, or you can even just share this for other people who are able to give a little bit of support right now. There is an organization called Direct Relief that we are supporting now as a company in terms of our platform here. You'll see it on Honest Game Trailers this week if you watch that, and a call out next week on Honest Trailers. And we will be talking about here on SJU. Direct Relief is coordinating with public health authorities. It's a nonprofit organizations and businesses in the US, China, and globally to provide personal protective equipment and essential medical items to health workers responding to COVID-19. So in the US, Direct Relief is delivering protective masks along with exam gloves and isolation gowns to healthcare organizations in areas with confirmed COVID cases. In China, Direct Relief has delivered via FedEx more than 30,000 pounds of protective gear, nearly 800 N95 masks. Those are the masks that you see that doctors need so much, 400,000 gloves, coveralls, face shields, shoe covers, all to frontline health workers. Direct Relief is also staging personal protective equipment with regional response agencies across the world, including the Caribbean and South America, through the Pan American Health Organization. There's a link in the description. It would mean a lot to us. Again, do what you can do, what you're able to do, or just share it. Share it around for other people that are able to give a little bit of support right now. This is a global organization, which is really, really important to us because sort of a little bit thematically in line with what we were just talking about, if there's one lesson that comes out of this crisis is that, and not in a woo-woo LA hippie way, but like we're literally all connected, like there's no denying it. What impacts one of us, impacts all of us. So to be there for each other with as much kindness and humanity as we're able to do and support as we're able to do right now is really, really more important than ever. I think, this is a really, I think you guys probably know people personally that are doctors. I know I do. Friends of friends and people that are in the medical field that are facing extreme duress right now. You're talking about doctors who are treating COVID patients that have one mask for a week, that are having to, in between seeing patients, use alcohol to wipe down their mask because they don't have enough. I know of one hospital where there's a doctor who just got off maternity leave and is treating COVID patients and then has to go home at night and nurse her baby, and she doesn't have enough masks. So this just couldn't be more crucial right now. This is the most important thing in my mind that we can do. One of the most important things, including like Meals on Wheels and supporting elderly and all of that, is getting doctors what they need in this time of crisis because they are very, very vulnerable. Okay. On that light note.
Well said. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Fan questions via the community tab. Michael Wilson says, hi to my internet family. Hello, Michael. Hope you're staying safe. We'll see you on the other side of this. Thank you. Random question. What's your favorite movie, robot or android?
Go ahead.
I have a question. I want your thought on this.
Yeah.
Is the Iron Giant a robot or an alien?
He's an alien robot.
Yeah, he's definitely mechanical.
Well, what's a transformer? It's an alien robot, right?
It's a robot in disguise. Yeah.
Well.
Okay.
But aren't robots like automatons? Like that's the thing. Is like we get into a whole nomenclature, taxonomy, semantics argument of like what's a robot and what's.
I think we can all agree that the Iron Giant had no soul.
Oh. Wow.
Joker stuff.
No,
the I need a curative to what you just said. Hang on, you guys discuss.
Oh, okay. Well,
Bishop jumps to mind from Aliens. He's an android.
Yeah. Bishop's great.
Bishop's a good android.
I was just thinking about a film the other day that sadly has been lost to history. Robot Jocks. Y'all seen Robot Jocks?
I think about Robot Jocks every day.
Oh, Robot Jox is great. Basically, it's like the good version of that was it Hugh Jackman, Real Steel, where it's like fake robot boxing, but it's like all the wars are settled with like a 1v1 giant robot fight. It's one of those movies where they like lost funding partway through, so they had to reuse some stuff, kind of cobble some things together. But it just feels like a sweeted version of a Michael Bay Transformers movie.
Yeah,
it's so great. Fun.
It's Real Steel Pacific Rim kind of, and it's
so please just watch Robot Jox, JOX.
I don't think anyone heard a thing you said, Spencer, because it's all been Roth's cat the entire time you were.
That's fine.
That's all cat. It's
Robot
important to me to
actually is very entertaining.
Hell yeah, Roth knows what I'm talking about.
No, I do. It's really entertaining. Joe, what's your favorite robot? I mean, it's got to be what, Optimus?
Yeah, but I mean, come on. I talked about enough. I'm trying to give you some really just good, solid robots. The robot in Journey to the Black Hole is a worthwhile robot. Where at first you're like, oh, this is just like a Disney-fied. Well, that's funny now because Disney owns Star Wars. But at the time you were like, oh, this is just the Disney-fied version of a droid. But then he's also like a weird cold-blooded killer that like covers up murders and stuff like that. And he has a big smiley face. It's really unnerving. Also, I just wanted to talk about that movie.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Dan, do you have a favorite robot?
Oh, he talked about it.
Yeah, I mentioned Bishop.
Sorry.
Android. Some people would say Data because of Star Trek, and I love Star Trek, but I don't think that Data's best work was done in the movies, and it's specified movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had the whole emotion chip thing, but I don't know. I think
Ross, will you talk to us about I Am Mother?
About what?
I Am Mother.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, I will. That's not what I was planning to talk to you about. Data, first of all, obviously had a big arc on Picard that I would like us to discuss at some point. I Am Mother is that's not my favorite movie robot, but I Am Mother.
It's chappy.
It's definitely chappy. I Am Mother is this really weird Netflix movie that's sort of like this, it's got Hilary Swank in it and this young actress, and it's this post-apocalyptic world in which this robot has raised this young woman, and her name is Mother. And her entire programming is about supporting and saving humanity, and shenanigans ensue. Like, as it turns out, that's not a great piece of programming to give to a robot. But are you guys watching Westworld this season? Speaking of robots?
I'm not.
No, my robot dance card is full with devs.
We're going to get into devs, but I got to say, you guys, Westworld is really good this season, and it's also strangely like time appropriate. It's got like these messages that are very, 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 and themes that are very, very appropriate to our time, and kind of even just about socio-political structures and the way they work.
I'll catch up.
I highly suggest that you catch up. It's great, and Dolores is awesome, but the one that's maybe stealing it is well, you know what? I'll wait till you catch up.
Okay.
Because there's a very complex thing happening with a robot, one of the robots who's got more humanity than the human being it's impersonating, and it's having an identity crisis as a result.
Right. I think I know who you're talking about, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for joining us. I know that we talked a lot about supporting people in this time of crisis, but we also want to support you. Let us know what would be fun and entertaining to watch on this show. Let us know how we can be dancing monkeys for you in a more efficient manner. That is our only skill set. That's all we have to contribute to the world.
Sadly relevant right now.
That's the only thing we can really do to help. Hey, and this is the other thing that I wanted to say, which is just a random thought that popped into my head, speaking of complex robots and beings and human beings, is you don't have to be Superman. You don't have to be perfect to be a contributing person in the world and be kind to other people. You're going to have your moments and be an asshole. I know I do every single day. Let's all just do our best, man. let's talk about devs because it's so good.
Great transition. I encourage everybody to get in on this show. It's still airing. I'm not sure how many episodes are left, but it's like every Thursday or something on Hulu. And my God, it's definitely not a light watch. So if you're not in the headspace to like watch something kind of tense, I would describe it as, don't watch it. But good. It's good. It's Alex Garland. It's the guy who made Ex Machina, and it's Nick Offerman in like, I hesitate to say like a Breaking Bad level like turn, but I mean, you've never been as like scared but also understanding of this guy as you've ever seen. I mean, he is giving like a titanic performance right now, and I think we should all be watching and talking about it more.
I agree with you. And so on your recommendation last week, you were talking about the shows that were appointment viewing for you, and you mentioned devs, and I trust your taste on television there, Spencer, because we're usually pretty aligned on that.
Yeah.
So I checked it out this weekend, and I couldn't agree more. It's not only like, I agree with you, his character, but not just his character. Every character on the show has a bunch of dimension and layers, but his really does. I have one bone to pick with his character, which we'll talk about when we get into spoilers. So Joe Starr, Dan, Murrell, cover your ears, take off your headsets, don't listen to this because we're going to do it. Audience who hasn't seen devs, we're going to do spoilers. And then I'll do this when we're done with spoilers. Okay, so spoilers, you can hop off too if it's easier, if you don't want to just stand there and listen to us weirdly.
Make them watch.
So devs, spoilers. So I was one episode into this, and one of the big questions that people are asking is like, what was devs up to? What is the main goal? What are they after? And so after episode 1, I was totally convinced that what they had discovered was that the simulation theory. So the simulation theory is that, at a given point in time, we will be able to do simulations that are indistinguishable from reality. And then once we're able to do that, we would be able to create billions of simulations. And then the probability would be that once we're able to do that, then we would be in one of those simulations, so that either the world will have ended and we didn't get to the point in advancement in technology, or some catastrophic event would have happened, and we won't get to the point in the future where we're able to conduct those kinds of simulations, or we're in one now. That's simulation theory. So what I thought that they had figured out is that we were in a simulation, and what he was trying to do was like break the tracks to create free will. So he has this theory that we're all on tracks,
yes,
and that our lives are really, really predetermined. So you essentially have no free will, and therefore you also have no responsibility if you really take that to its fullest extreme. And I thought he was trying to break the tracks to change the simulation so he could have his daughter back. But then by episode 3, that radically changed, because obviously they're doing projections both forwards and backwards in time that are becoming more and more real, and they're also doing some other experiments. So I think he's trying to get back to his daughter, and change those events or bring her back to life. Spencer, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the way I think I see this going, obviously there's a lot about free will and determinism, and can you change, if not the present, then the past or the future. So I think that the crazy thing going on right now is like, so he's trying to rewrite history. He's trying to bring his daughter back, or find some sort of different choices he could have made, or relive her life for what could have been in some way. But if you look at where they're going back, the people that he's revisiting so far, it's like Jesus, Marilyn Monroe, Joan of Arc, I think, or like Lincoln, like stuff like that. Like these are all people who were like crazy, or like prophets, or people who kind of had a lot of stuff going on in their heads. Yeah. I think what they're setting up is that like he's ensuring his own daughter's death by like he's altering the past. Like this is not a value neutral like look back, that he is changing history, ensuring that things are going to play out the way they play out. Like
why would he want to ensure his daughter's death?
No, he doesn't think he is. He's looking for a way to like break out of it and for free will, but it's the act of going back and looking at these moments that's ensuring things will play out exactly the way it does.
Right, because in quantum theory,
once you've
act of
observed it, then it gets
observing,
locked
you
in.
change it. Yes.
Yeah. So
Once
he's
you
ensuring that it's going to happen the way
Yeah.
it happens by creating devs, which is tragic.
Right, which they show in the flashback to the classroom, where it's the idea is like there's two, like the quark is doing two things at once, right?
Yeah.
Like, which basically you're in a field of possibility at that point, and then once you observe, the possibility is decided because your act of observing has forced a single action.
Yeah. So him trying to break out of it is locking in it.
His daughter's death.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is that he doesn't like the multiverse theory. I mean, I get it, because in the multiverse, a different version of him did something differently and his daughter lived.
Yeah.
And he's struggling. He wants to believe that there's nothing he could have done so that he doesn't have to carry the guilt and the burden. Though I will say it was so clearly an accident.
Yeah. As far as we know, right? Yeah.
As far as we know, it was so clearly an accident. Here's my bone to pick with him is that he is. First of all, can you imagine working in a place that was a big shrine to your boss's dead child? How creepy is that?
Don't ask about the statue.
Like, it's so
first
creepy.
thing on orientation.
Like, so creepy. But then also, he clearly could not give a whit about his wife. Like, she is just so meaningless in this story.
I mean, we all grieve in our own way, but I think if you lose a wife and a child, it's like,
The child.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to play favorites, but come on.
Yeah. All right. Well, in any event, I think it's but the mystery is really interesting, and what he's trying to get done is really interesting. But what I think is so great about the show is that it's not really about discovering that. It's like all of the questions and implications that whatever that answer is leaves to us, the viewer. It's the kind of questions I love in a show or a movie. It's like the questions are really about the ethical or psychological ramifications that have no answers. They're not like, did that happen?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I think it's so great. You guys should all be watching Devs. It's really, really cool. We want to hear your Devs theories, but somehow, I don't know how would they do that so that they're not spoiling anybody else?
We'll talk when it's over. It's only got, 3 more weeks, something like that.
Okay, so we'll talk when it's over. We'll check back in then, and we'll come back with other movie and TV recommendations for things that folks are watching. Like maybe another day this week, we'll talk about Picard, Dan.
No, I demand equal time to discuss 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days.
Okay.
Later this week.
Very good.
So have your fan theories ready.
Happy Joe, you and Dan will take on 90 Day Fiancé.
He's muted. You're muted, Joe.
Joe.
Sign out what you would have to say about the fiancés.
I don't want to upset our hearing impaired viewers with my nonsense. I haven't seen 90 Day Fiancé, but I will use 90 Day Fiancé to supplement with Love is Blind commentary.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right. You guys will be given time. You will be given the floor to do that. And Spencer and I will be coming back with Westworld theories once he's caught up or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
You don't want to talk about Picard, Dan? Really?
I got to catch up.
Oh, okay.
I got to catch up.
All right. Let me know when you're caught up. You guys watch Picard?
Nope. CBS All Access. Come on. I got enough on my plate.
They dropped it all for free, buddy. We can.
Really?
Yeah, we can watch it now.
Oh, okay. Are you drinking whiskey? It's a little early, Joe.
Yeah. All right. Let's just end this.
Bye.
You guys, thank you. Bye. We'll see you tomorrow. Are you drinking whiskey?